Well, hello, my fellow devils. This is your Devil Crypto News host, Coyote, and welcome back to the Devil Crypto News Show, the news show where we talk about crypto, NFTs, personal finance, and more. And today we'll be talking about a new California crypto executive order, NFTs that really were flourishing during the market crash, and the stigma against NFTs. So, as always, I'm joined by my good friend Old Scratch. Old Scratch, how are you doing today?
Doing quite well. Thinking about this California crypto executive order. It's interesting to see a state follow through with the Biden executive order that we talked about earlier, which essentially was just, to me, seems to be that the government, the federal government, now the state government of California is aware of crypto, and that it says that it's going to protect consumers from being scammed, and who knows, maybe make it easier for developers in terms of seeking help when things go wrong or anything like that. But yeah, what do you think about that in terms of the state government and the federal government? Do you think that this will be better in terms of speed? The government clearly has a reputation of being slow. So I'm curious if you think that adding this sort of executive order on the state level will possibly be speedier and more convenient.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. I think a lot of states do that. And even it trickles down to individual counties and municipalities of if it's good enough for the federal government, it's good enough for us. So I'm pretty sure they probably were just trying to follow suit and show that they're progressive, show that they care about their constituents, but I'm not actually sure how it's going to roll out or what that means for the individuals living like us in California. I again, like we said last time, I'm all for protecting folks. I don't want to get people. I don't want people to get scammed. I'm also sorry for anyone that's been dealing with difficult things, and hold strong for those that are doing so. But I think at the end of the day, I'm not so sure that it's in efforts to actually help folks as much as it is to say, well, we did our job as an administration to make sure that we're protecting our customers, or really our citizens.
Yeah, and I also just again, just the previous point I was making. I really wonder if speediness will be something to pay attention to when it comes to this executive order. I mean, look, we don't have much in the crypto world right now in terms of government involvement on a regulation issue, in terms of good regulation, if you could call something good regulation. So when it arrives, I'm very curious to see how hard it'll be in the future to work in the crypto industry. I mean, ultimately, it's a total wild west right now, and it's free with what you want. But if speediness is an issue, that's obviously going to be a problem.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. I think it's one of those things where it's just a second set of eyes. So I'm not going to say that the federal government would be quicker or slower to reply than the state government, but having two different parties that are essentially there to protect folks is just two additional safety nets for people to have someone on their side if and when things ever do go that way, unfortunately.
Yeah, and of course, it is interesting to think after all these years, the government finally recognizing that crypto is going to be here to stay, and it's not just a fad I was hearing, 5 years ago when I first got involved in this industry. It's very clear to me that people are taking this very seriously, and so having the government paying attention to it is both kind of frightening, in some ways, but also kind of good because we do certainly need help as developers and certainly as investors in this community. And yeah, I mean, there's been lots of institutions now are recognizing the long term effects and just that the idea that crypto is going to stick around with us.
Yeah, I was at a friend's wedding this past weekend, and we were talking so much about crypto, being at the point where we're huge basketball and sports fans, and there's so many stadiums now that are sponsored by crypto platforms or companies like that. So I think that's a sign that it's kind of here to stay. Like when it's finally infiltrated American sports, that's when it's kind of here to stay, and something that people are going to make sure is successful because they want to continue to get sponsorship dollars out of it.
Yeah, and just to talk about what I kind of mentioned this a minute ago, but when I first got in this crypto industry, which was around, I want to say 5 years ago, as an investor, and then the more I
Yeah.
studied blockchain, the more in love I fell with the idea of like of everything, obviously. And now here I am as a founder and developer of a token. Um, but certainly 5 years ago, there was a quite a stigma against NFTs, which is one of the topics we're going to talk about on this episode. So I'm curious what you think. Um, or excuse me, I said NFTs. I meant cryptocurrency. There's a stigma against crypto 5 years ago, and there certainly still is. But just in a 4 or 5 year period, I've noticed a massive shift in people's kind of tone and overall like acceptance of crypto. Even big crypto or people who aren't so much into crypto, experts, financial experts, and everything are now saying like, oh yeah, no, cryptocurrency has its purposes, its uses, but eh, you know, uh, that's something I don't really understand. As of 4 or 5 years ago, people were saying that crypto is absolutely a fad, a scam. People are investing into nothing. It's a waste of time. Um, I'm kind of feeling the same. I mean, I'm not feeling the same way, but I'm kind of seeing the similarities with the NFTs now. Now I'm seeing the conversation go like, "Oh yeah, crypto is good, but NFTs are bad." And obviously this is in my opinion super foolish again to come to this conclusion. But I'm wondering if you think we're kind of stuck in this stigma realm of like, there's these NFTs and people just say, oh, they're just art. It's art. It's art. It's art. And that you don't even actually get. There's these kind of stigmas, but there's certainly more to it, especially from a technical and blockchain standpoint. And I think NFTs are going to play a really important role in the future, especially with like politics and stuff, which we can get into.
Yeah, I mean, when I think about NFTs versus thinking about crypto currency, it reminds me of kind of just thinking of the US dollar or thinking of, any currency, not just US dollar, or thinking of stocks as relates to also maybe like art, right? So for example, if the US dollar is falling or God forbid there's a stock market crash, does that mean the price of a Picasso painting that you have in your office or in your safe somewhere is going to drop? No, sometimes it might even go up and it might rise because people know that in times of uncertainty, there's certain things that there's a limited supply of, there's certain things that are rare, there's certain things that no matter what happens, you can take that and go with you. So like I could have let's say I have a Rolex watch. Like great, the economy crashes in America. I go to Switzerland or I go to Germany, I sell my Rolex watch and it's as good as any sort of currency. So that's kind of how I see people feeling for NFTs a little bit, is that because there's more limited supply, because maybe they're tied into something besides, the volatility of potentially a currency, that it's a little bit more stable and it's an item that's worth collecting and holding on to. But that's just kind of the parallels that I've seen. What do you think?
I think NFTs from a personal standpoint level, like in terms of people's daily lives, I actually think that they're likely going to be way more influential and even important and used compared to crypto, as over time that is. And that's because I think NFTs can really fit on a political level, which I'll get into later. I kind of want to stick to the hype kind of aspect of this and like the sort of stigma. But let's look at gold for example, right? Like people invest in gold, and I actually think as someone who is into personal finance and investing, I actually think gold is a good investment. And of course, there are times when you could absolutely, like anything, lose money on it. But gold, especially during the pandemic, right? Let's look at the pandemic. When the market sort of crashed and we were all kind of shut down and closed off from working at all, gold actually soared quite a bit during the pandemic. A lot of people made a lot of money on gold specifically. Now, let's say this civilization falls apart completely. We're now in the Fallout universe. I think we're more likely going to be using bottle caps as our future currency than even gold. I don't think there's any actual real investment in terms of like, oh, it's because this is what was being used, thousands of years ago in the ancient times. Therefore, we're going to use this again if civilization falls. That's why gold is valuable. I actually don't think that. I think there is a hype aspect to it, obviously, but it's more of it's the rarity, it's the beauty, it's art. In a sense, gold is kind of art. It's beautiful, it's rare, it's durable, and I kind of that's kind of how I guess I see the NFT conversation going, and I think people see NFTs like the new gold right now, like both like the stigma with gold and the hype for gold. I think that's the current viewership of NFTs toward like someone who's not super involved with crypto or investing for that matter.
You know, I have to say, yeah, I got to say too, though, when it comes to gold, I just thought about what you said. Like, if civilization were to crash, I still think there's value to if you saw and you're walking down the street in some like post-apocalypse world, like whatever. If you saw some gold sitting on the corner, like a gold bar, oh my God, your eyes are drawn to it. If you find a bag full of diamonds, like there's still value in like humans, I think, seeing things like that and just immediately recognizing value in that. And I think maybe a little bit is the idea of they can kind of see it, they know what it is, it's something they can touch and feel. And maybe that's what NFTs feel like for folks, where it's something they can see and enjoy a little bit more than than a cryptocurrency. So there's maybe a little bit of that too, where it's like, well, hey, like I'm not looking at a chart that's going up and down, although of course you can track the average sale price of comparable NFTs, but also being able to see like, look, I have this item, this is cool, it stays in my MetaMask wallet, whatever. I think there's a little bit of that, and I actually would say that no matter what happens, a human that finds like some gold or diamonds, like I think they still would be probably drawn to it.
Absolutely, and that's because gold is obviously very beautiful and has a very deeply rooted historic obsession with our species, and it's been used as currency and for jewelry and everything we kind of just mentioned. But like you know like NFTs, there's obviously horrifically maybe I shouldn't curse so YouTube doesn't strike me, but there's these effing terrible NFT projects out there right now that make tons of money and are total rug pulls and scams, or just in
Yeah.
general so lazy and lazy effort put into them and just total copies of others. Um, with gold, it's like if you're staying up late at night on TV, and even though I'm a big believer in gold as an investment, I think it's fine and good and valuable. You see these horrible scam ads for like these stupid gold coins, which are like awful and worth absolutely nothing and are total scams. And I think that's like the stigma that's kind of still there about gold is like the stigma with NFTs. It's
Oh
just
my
that's
God.
what people see all
No,
the
it's
time.
so funny. I like the ones where it's like the first time in 70 years, like this coin faces or has a face of like the third, fifth president to ever do X, Y, and Z. And it's like they will never print this again. And it's literally just that. It's just people that are up late at night getting sold on something they think looks like it would be worth something, but it's literally not even worth the amount of money that it costs to to write a check to send to them. It's so funny. There's so many scams out there. You're so right.
But now to get into like the real like value of NFTs, like even if you're not into like the art aspect of it, which I have some thoughts about, of course, um, NFTs in general, I can see being so beneficial from a political level, meaning identification. Identification is so important and so fragile and something we hold so sacred, obviously, in our society. You need ID for everything. You have a state ID or a driver's license, a passport, even a COVID card, which is a form of identification, identifying that have the COVID vaccine. There are so many forms of ID and documentation that have the opportunity now with what NFTs are to be basically personal NFTs for people. Having your own state ID or driver's license in the form of an NFT. Now, why would you? What advantage do we have of this? Well, because it's on the blockchain. Blockchain is so secure, perhaps the most secure thing ever invented in tech. We can restrict the amount of fraud happening. I mean, hell, even gun licenses can be in the forms of NFTs, and this is something that I've had conversations with about people in this community. I see real value and benefits of people doing this. There's no risk to losing any form of identification or anything like that. You simply have it on the blockchain all the time on your phone in your pocket, and that's how you get around in the world. Only thing you'd have to do is probably renew it every few years, depending on what it is.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, to me, it doesn't make sense that, for example, my social security card, the deed to my house, like driver's license, if I lose those things, it is a pain in the ass to have to go and try to replace them. Versus if I had a digital copy and record of it, it would be fantastic. It's like they were smart to do it with COVID cards. Like, sure, you have your physical card you can carry around, or you can go to the website and you can pull up, your record of it, your vaccination records. To me, it's so we're so behind in the times by not having digital proof of certain things like that. And to your point, like having a very secure method in which to do it. And then as far as you're right, I mean, perceived value of things is based on the rarity of them, whether that's real rarity or just perceived rarity. I think the biggest thing that many of us know is think of like Pokemon cards. They were one of the first things, at least in my generation, aside from baseball cards, where it was like, the reason why I need this is because this company has told me that this is rare or this is cool. Other people bought into it and the culture just rallied around, yes, this is important to us. Like it could have been anything else in the world if they had the marketing, the interest, the TV shows, the movies, but it happened to be Pokemon cards. And I mean, some NFTs are like that, where they're better projects that people are excited about. They look cool, they're valuable. And there's some that are, not so great that won't be around. But I mean, everything, baseball cards, Pokemon cards, really everything, jerseys, like sports jerseys, everything is based on how rare something is and the value that we put on it as a society.
So many NFTs are copies. It's terrible. I mean, there's like again, such an unregulated space, and certainly copyright, music, film, whatever it is, that's a very serious thing, especially taken on YouTube. But like we take copyright seriously, and that could be one of the regulations we see, especially with like NFTs, because art is being stolen all the time and sold for massive amounts of profit. And again, I think we're going back to that stigma against NFTs because people go, oh, they're all scams. You're just selling artwork and that's that. And it's like, well, okay, artwork has been around forever and that's certainly not a scam, at least not all of it, but you can certainly scam. You could certainly use artwork to scam. And now I'm saying we're in the all NFTs are bad stage of society. Do you think in a few years it'll change, or do you think it'll be this toxic or even worse in terms of like the stigma against NFTs?
Yeah, I think it's not just going to change in a few years. I feel like it's changing every single day. And my friend asked me something really interesting the other day. I was at his house and we were just kind of thinking late at night. And he basically was like, look, if I showed you this NFT that's worth, $2 million, right? And I pulled out a bag of money, like I pulled out $20,000 in ones, what would most people end up asking for or want immediately? And I think most people would be like, oh no, I want the 20,000. Like it's familiar to me. I understand cash. I can hold it in my hands. I can do things with it versus NFT. I don't understand that. Like, what does it mean? Is it going to be worth that tomorrow? Is it not worth this and that? I think we're still, as a society, people aren't fully educated on the value of them, which ones to trust and which ones not to trust. And as such, people are going to be a little bit dismissive at times. But I think there's just, a lot of value in what they can do, especially from the tech side of things, of being a proof of ownership of something or proof of record, where once people understand that that's what an NFT is, like think of a freaking a hotel key, like getting in and out of your hotel without having to use a key, just using something that's like a secure link, then that's basically when people are going to realize, oh, there's a lot of value to this. I didn't even know that's what NFTs were. I thought they were just little funky drawings, on a website or something. I think that's when the change is going to happen fully.
So we're going to do a speed round of types of investments that you think are a good investment or a bad investment. And I'm just going to list the word and you tell me whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, sure. I won't say necessarily if it's a bad investment. I think everybody's situations will be, very unique, but I'll give you just my opinion from my life and maybe what I would suggest based on what I know of the situation, whatever it might be.
Gold.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think the way you invest in gold, the times in which you invest in gold, it could be a good investment. I don't think buying gold just for the sake of someone tells you, oh, gold is a great investment, go spend, all your money on it, and then, realizing that it's going to drop over time, getting scared and pulling out is wise. I think gold, even in physical commodities, is wise. Like I mentioned a Rolex watch. Look at the prices of Rolex 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 10 years in the future, 10, 15 years in the future. I think that there are some timeless items that incorporate gold that are worth it. Jewelry, if you buy the right ones. But yeah, I don't think it's a foolish purchase. Just being smart about it and not looking at those infomercials you talked about that kind of scam you into buying the wrong types of gold. I think it could be a good investment.
NFTs.
Absolutely. I think just like with gold, though, you have to find the right projects to back, or I guess more so like crypto, you got to find the right projects to back, NFTs that you believe in, NFTs that maybe you've seen have done some pretty good things that you know are here to stay. And especially when you're thinking about the technological side of NFTs, what they can do outside of just being a cool collectible, the ones that actually have a lot of value or applications to do some nice things in the future. Absolutely.
Crypto.
Yeah, I feel like I'm repeating myself so much, but yeah, of course, finding the right. Yeah, yeah, no worries. Yeah, no, finding the right project is paramount. There's a lot of rug pulls out there, unfortunately, and we've seen examples of that. But I think diversifying and not having all of your money in a more antiquated format is definitely something that you should explore. And if you can find a good project that works for you, if you can stake and make some money off of it, then absolutely, there's a lot of great crypto projects out there.
Art.
Yes, I personally love artwork, and I think the right paintings, and I keep saying this, like the right ones. It's all about finding the right ones, doing your research. It is. It is. You can't just say, "Oh, well, this painting costs $5,000. That means it's going to be worth $10,000." Like it might, somebody's son might have drawn it in their basement somewhere, and it's worth nothing. But buying a Picasso, like even for $4,300, maybe in 3 years, that's $9,400. Like I think painting, actually, for me, artwork, collectibles, that's one of my favorite ways to invest. It's something that not a lot of people know about, but if you look at some of the wealthiest and follow some of the wealthiest people in the world, guess what they have hangers full of? Guess what they have attics full of is it's valuable artwork, it's paintings, because limited supply. And once that artist blows up and gets the name brand, like those are really like those are some of the true first collectibles that I think we're always going to see a lot of in human history. Yeah, and I'll just touch on collectibles real quick first too. So I know that Kobe, I think it was the jersey. I'm mixing up the story. I think it was the jersey that he wore maybe on his final game, or the jersey that he scored 81 points, some landmark jersey, right? It's going for auction at like $7 or $8 million. So collectibles, like especially sports here in America, but different collectibles, there's some really valuable ones out there that could be a great investment. It's just knowing which ones to buy, how much to spend on it. Unfortunately, there's a lot of barriers to entry. So like not all of us can afford, I don't think many of us can afford $7 million for a basketball jersey, but could be a great one. And then the last one you said was it stocks and bonds? Yeah. I think those are very similar to NFTs, where NFTs for, I would say, more like bonds, and then maybe for stocks, a little bit more like crypto, where it's like, of course, you have to select the right ones to follow. Day traders, people that do that individually, most of them don't make money. Most of them lose all their money because they're just going off on a whim. But folks that do, prepare for retirement, there's a pretty stable and sound way to go about it. It's investing in the right mutual funds, for example, investing in the right portfolios, systematically putting a couple $100s in every month or whatever you can afford. And then from there, realizing like, yeah, over time it adds up, and it accrues, and you build interest. So I think as long as you've done the research, maybe work with a financial planner if you can do so, or if your company offers like a 401k or something like that, probably something that's wise to consider. But I think historically, especially the stock market, the American stock market has done really well, and probably will continue to do so even despite some of the ups and downs that we see for recent crashes. Yeah, final thought, like I said in that fire round, and I really like that little scratch. That was a fun exercise. Is do your research. Like, there's 1,000 ways to make money. There's probably 10,000 ways to lose money, and it's a lot easier to lose the money. So just make sure whatever you're doing, you feel confident in it. You can make some great decisions and lose money, some poor decisions and make it. But as long as you're confident in the project you're supporting, or the financial method that you're following, then that's what's most important at the end of the day, and hold true to it. So with that, I'd say thanks everybody for tuning in today. Please like if you can, if you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more content that we're putting out, and share in the comments below maybe your favorite way to invest your money, and we'll kind of grow together as a community. So thanks so much, everybody. See you next time.